We are at the last few topics of this Python Flask course, and some of the topics would be theoretical. I'll not be showing you any hands-on, but for some topics I'll show you hands-on. For example, templates and forms. I will show you how to use templates using an HTML page, or we'll create a web application at the end of this particular topic. First of all, what are templates and forms? Templates are nothing but web pages, which are collection of HTML and JavaScript codes, and these are used to show in your web page. So that's what templates are. And template is a Flask component. If you want to create web application using Flask, then you'll have to create something called templates, which would contain the web pages that would be sent to your end user. And from those web pages, the APIs would be called, and the functions or the view functions would retrieve the data and show the result back to the web pages. That's what templates are. So how templates and forms are used? First, we have to create an HTML page. After we create an HTML page, we import a class called render_template from the Flask module. After we import the class, whenever we have to show the web page to the end user, we use return render_template followed by the HTML or the JavaScript code that you have written, and along with it maybe some variables. For example, if you want to get some details of a customer and you get the customer ID from the web page and connect to the database, get those customer information, and you want to send the customer information back to the web page. So in that case, there are certain variables like customer ID, customer name, customer address, etc. Those would be put in variables. Using this render_template method, we send the web page, which is there in this code, is in this HTML code. For example, product_detail.html. It can contain JavaScript also. So this web page would be shown to the end user. So this is how it is. We have HTML code, let's say product_detail.html. Now let's say I want to show this page to the user. Whenever there's a button click or whenever there's a link click, so what would happen is you click the button, it would call an API which is being handled by Python function that would connect to the database, get the information, and send the result back using this page product_detail.html. While sending the detail, we'll use this render_template method and pass the HTML page along with variables also. So this product detail HTML is actually used to return the web page. So this is what templates are, and there's a special way that we have to create something called a template folder, and then we send it across. So in the hands-on exercise where I'm going to create web application, I will show you how we can use templates. Some theoretical concept like sessions and cookies, you might have already seen what cookies are. Whenever you open a web page, the web page says that it is going to save some user record in the browser. So do you accept all the cookies, or do you want to customize some setting, or do you want to reject all the cookies? So what are cookies and what are sessions? Before that, let me take a step back how actually HTTP works. So let's say I have opened my web page of an online retail portal. So in India, we have something called flipkart.com. So let's say I open Flipkart, which is similar to online retail portal like amazon.com. So if I open flipkart.com, there are two ways I can browse the products or buy a product. One is I log in using a user ID. So I'm a registered user in a Flipkart, and first I log in, then I search the product, and then I buy the product. But let's say I do not have an account. Obviously, these online retail giants, they do not want to lose business just because a user does not register. So even if a user is not registered, he or she should be allowed to buy. And let's say I open multiple products and I store them in a cart and I close the web page. Next time when I open the web page, I should be able to see the items in the cart that I had put in the last session. And these are tracked by sessions and cookies. And the sessions or cookies are actually handled by the web server. So the web server captures the sessions and cookies and send it back to the browser. Although these are handled by cookies, these are saved in the browser cache. Let's take a step back. Why do we even need sessions and cookies? Let's have this web server or web service. And what we do is that we use methods and variables like session, cookie.get, set underscore cookie, etc. Using these, we manipulate the user data. Basically, we capture the user data and maybe send it to the browser so that the browser can save it. But why do we even need this? Because the way HTTP works, right? So let's say I have these requests and all of these URL endpoints are being sent to the web server, and these are all HTTP, right? So communication is happening over HTTP, and we are using HTTP get methods or put methods or post methods, whatever. So we're sending it over to the web server. So let's say the first one wherein I'm trying to get the products, the client would send the request and it would get the response back from the web server. Now let's say if I run it again after some time, the browser, this is being sent from the browser. HTTP does not store any information of its browsing history. If I have to rely only on HTTP, and if I open this page again and type list products and use this API rather, then it would be a complete blank slate. I'll have to start all over again. So it actually depreciates the customer experience. So for that reason, all the online portals use sessions and cookies to save the state. Okay, now going further, let's say we have the second one. I'm sending the get product with some product ID. I want to find out the product price, product details, etc. Let's say I have opened the page. I've sent the request and got the response back, and I close the web page. And if I open it again, my browser would not remember what I had done in the last session if I have to rely only on HTTP. Same is the case with others also, meaning that whatever request and response you send via HTTP forgets the response and everything around the request once it gets the response. After the response, it actually gets everything out of the memory. It does not store anything. Same is the case with other APIs also. I mean, whenever you send a request, you get the response, and HTTP forgets about the request and the response also. So for that reason, we use sessions and cookies so that some of the important variables can be stored. For example, let's say I have browsed a product and I want to get the product details. Whenever I open the browser again, the same page should open if I'm not a registered user. So these are some of the reasons that sessions and cookies are used. And Flask provides libraries to handle sessions and cookies. But essentially, sessions and cookies are nothing but storing data from users in browser. So this is stored on the client's side in the browser. So if you're using Chrome or Safari or Internet Edge, data for the cookie would be stored in the browser, not in the web server. Because imagine you have billions of users. It is not possible for the web server to store all those information in its server. I mean, it can. There are server-side cookies also, which can be stored using in-memory database, but client-side cookies are stored in the web browser. And Flask implements client-side cookies only. And these are stored as key value pairs because this is the easiest to search and store. You can store a key and its corresponding value. If you have to get the key, you can pass the key and get the value. We have seen that in caching also, right? In application caching. We can actually set what would be the keys and what would be the values. The reason sessions and cookies are used so that the websites can remember the preferences, the user preferences, that is, the login details, maybe the user ID and the password, the last page visit, what are the pages that opened and what are the pages that closed, etc. So if you have ever tried Google, Chrome or Safari, and let's say you close the tab, you close the browser rather, but there were some important web pages that you had spent quite some time on to find, and you want to get all the web pages which were opened last time. You are not logged in using any user. If you want, you can log in using a Google account, but let's say you open, and what happens is that next time when you open Chrome, in the history you will get an option that restore all web pages from the last session. How Chrome would remember what sessions or what web pages I opened last time. So that's where sessions and cookies use. That is one of the most important use cases of sessions and cookies. Another example can be, let's say, whenever you do a login, there's a button called Remember Me. So if you click that, what would happen is that the user ID and the password would be stored in your browser. Not in the web server, but in your browser. So that next time you do not have to type the password all over again. That is another usage or use case of sessions and cookies. As I said, Flask provides ways to handle cookies and sessions, and this is how we can do that. We can import request, make response, and session classes from Flask module. Using this method, we can actually create a message, and then we can set the cookie, and we can pass the key and value. And similarly, we can get the cookie also, which would be sent by the web browser rather. So a web server will not have it. Web server will set the cookie and it would send to the browser. Browser will store it as key value pair. And next time when you open the browser, browser will send the cookie again to the web server, and web server will get the information, all the necessary information from the key value pair which is stored in the cookies. Similarly, we can use sessions also. The session variable can be used to store username, password, etc. Obviously, sensitive information should not be stored, but if you want, you can. So these are some of the other topics that I wanted to touch base on. I'll not be showing you any hands-on on sessions and cookies, but I will have hands-on on web application and templates.